Lady C bravely sheds light on all rumors of Harry and Meghan in the past 1 week. Hello, friends. Welcome to breaking royal news about the notorious hypocritical couple, Harry and Meghan Markle, on our Royal Fantasy channel. Yesterday, Lady C gave a very sharp analysis of the recent upheavals of Harry and Meghan. Specifically, she said, "It has just been announced that Harry lost his court case. Is this the beginning of the end for him? No, sadly. Is he done for? My dears, he has been done for many years. You know the corpse is allowed to be standing and the stink is increasing, let's put it that way. Harry has several lawsuits. This is one of them. This is a substantial loss for his puppet master David Sherborne and the other one, Hugh Grant. The whole lot includes Elton John, but I do commend him for standing up for his friend Kevin Spacey. Anyway, they are all trying to establish a legal precedent by doing it via lawsuits. Parliament has declined to do anything. Justice Van Court found Harry's claims that the royal family had a secret agreement with the news group never existed and was not plausible or credible. Justice is really saying Harry is a liar. Harry is allowed to proceed with his other claim regarding illegal methods of news gathering, which I agree with. The important point is to determine whether the news methods were gathered legally or illegally. Hugh Grant, Prince Harry, and Elton John are going to have a very difficult time proving news was gathered illegally. Private investigators are allowed to gather information using legal methods. Let's wait and see. It is already feared that Harry will air more dirty laundry, such as Harry complaining that William was protected and he and Meghan were not because he is the spare. Next, Harry and Meghan are having Dan Wooten ruined. That is just a rumor. Dan Wooten is not ruined yet. He is being buffeted from all sides. As far as I know, Dan has done nothing immoral or illegal. As far as I know, he has done certain things that modern gay men of a legal age do. And, of course, he would interact on the internet using an alias. Dan Wooten has needs and desires. It is okay that he tried to connect with people. Of course, Meghan and Harry are after Dan Wooten. Is a rabbi Jewish? Is the Pope Catholic? Are Meghan and Harry jerks? Am I worried I am going to be next? Let them try. I have nothing to hide. Another point. I believe Harry will go to Africa to film a show for Netflix. Do you think Meghan will go? If he goes alone, do you think this could help him realize what she has done to him? Or has Meghan completely sucked him dry? I have mixed reports on Harry's state of mind and Meghan's influence over Harry. I do not believe a word from their quarter. I will make this point. How credible is it that Netflix will take Harry to Africa when the Invictus show has been postponed? Is this another rumor coming from California? Like the rumor, they were to present the Best Picture Oscar. I know people are seriously worried about Harry. They know this situation cannot continue. If Harry goes to Africa, will he be able to recover from Meghan's influence, or will she be calling him nonstop? I have seen sick relationships like this before. They tend to last a long time, and sometimes forever. Because one person is too weak to leave and the other, it is in their worldly interest. Finally, allegedly Harry and Meghan are hunting the people who denied them an Emmy as if they actually have power. What is your perception of their power? First of all, nobody in Hollywood takes them seriously. I do not think this sort of story could have emanated from anybody other than a Sussex supporter. Nobody cares about Meghan and Harry. When they arrived, there was the aura of their royal status, but they ruined it. Now the emperor has no clothes. One royal expert commented, "Lady C's point about Harry being too weak to leave is valid. I think there are times that he wants to leave, but Meghan manages to convince him to stick with her. I don't think he'll ever leave her. It will be her who will leave him when she decides he's of no more use to her." I can't feel sorry for him, though. He was warned repeatedly, shown proof, and instead, he licked her boots and followed her commands to destroy his family. When she's bled him dry, he'll have no choice but to go home and sit in a corner to watch his brother succeed. Preparation Harry will fall on his sword due to his pride. He cornered himself with no way of coming out of his marriage with dignity, so he's can't going to leave her. Since he exposed himself to the world, with his trashy book and wine-fest Oprah, and sacrificed so much for Meghan, his dignity, and burned bridges with the royal family, he won't grovel back to them, especially to his brother. He basically bit more than he can chew with this marriage. He was stubborn with his decision when his loved ones were watching this objectively, so he will not allow himself to be proven wrong, even if means at the cost of his own happiness. An insider spoke up. The British tabloid press is vile. This is a fact. The battle Hugh Grant and others are fighting is worthy. If you are interested, read about the Leveson Enquiry into the culture and practices of the press in 2011. Also, read about how the press conducted themselves during the search for a murdered 13-year-old girl called Millie Dowler. Also, check why the Sun newspaper is boycotted in Liverpool, Hillsborough disaster. It's possible that Harry is completely deluded and that an agreement with the royal family to throw him under the bus and the heir being protected, etc., is all bollocks. In fact, it's very likely. It's quite clear he is paranoid. But Harry being deluded and the press being vile can both be true. Dan Wooten appears all nice and smiley, but he is really badly regarded in journalistic circles. It is believed that his negative and verging bullying coverage of a presenter called Caroline Flack contributed to her suicide. I'm very familiar with the publication that has uncovered most of Wooten's unsavory behavior, and I know they are trustworthy. There is a reason why he is on GB News right now, which is a very biased and politicized opinion, not news, channel. He has countless allegations of bullying to his name at The Sun and other places he has worked for. He is well known for screwing junior journalists under him for stories and access to sources. His reputation is horrendous. To say that all he does is normal gay man things is an insult. To say this is orchestrated by Harry and Meghan is deluded. I know exactly where these allegations are coming from, and they give fuck all about Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan are very, 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 very stupid people, but Wooten is no angel. Both things can be true at the same time. Harry is messing up his court cases because he is unable to present a case in a rigorous, non-paranoid manner, but the case against the press is valid. Life is not black and white, not. That the press can be vile is one thing, but what Hugh Grant and others allege is not that. It is that the press does not hesitate to air its worst baseness. That's why Elton went to court, to seek to silence the press. So no, what Hugh Grant, Harry, and others are doing is not worthy. Not at all. It's not that the press lied about them that bothers them. The problem is that the press told the truth about them. The bad thing was the methods to reveal that truth. But it was not that the press lied. In fact, the sickening thing about the case that Grant and others now have against the press is that it involved a baroness whose murder of her son has been revealed thanks to the press. And it was recently revealed that the police had done a terrible job of not charging the main person responsible, despite the fact that the press had pointed it out. The judge in court apologized to her for being involved in this case. Caroline Flack committed suicide. And yes, that's terrible for her family, but that's not to ignore the fact that she committed suicide because she was going to go to trial for felony assault against her ex-partner. She abused him, physically. If Flack had been a man, would we have to feel sorry because he justified his aggression by having mental problems? That the press harassed her does not change the fact that she attacked her ex-partner. Besides, it wasn't Wooten who caused that. In fact, the subsequent investigation showed that Flack's problems worsened when she was on Love Island because Flack can't stand it being made fun of on social media. They go, I think, 4 people from that program who have committed suicide. Harry accused Wooten in spare of harassing Flack. Harry is the one who points to Wooten for causing Flack's suicide. To ignore that Flack was accused of assault is to have a biased point of view. Spacey is an asshole to watch out for. But if the people who reported it are real victims, why did they lie? The case of the guy who refused to hand over his cell phone, where he supposedly had evidence, invoking the Fifth Amendment, then the now complainants that one also refused to hand over his cell phone, and another lied about the dates. Why lie? Why has the press told the... If you knew what happened to Elton in court, you would know very well that Elton took a great risk by presenting himself as a witness on behalf of Spacey. It took all of us who have followed that story by surprise because Elton only shows up when he thinks he can win. In the case of Harry, Elton is the one with the strings, and the lawyer Sherborne is his lawyer because Elton believed he used Harry to his advantage. You can have as bad an opinion of Wooten as you want, but if you're going to check online, check everything. Wooten is not to blame for Flack committing a crime against his ex-partner, and that instead of accepting that she did something wrong, she decided to commit suicide. Because she cannot stand the idea of going to trial for that act, and that social networks would point her out for an act that she did. Spacey was not released from charges because he is an actor, because he is famous, because Elton testified in his favor, but because his alleged victims lied. Just like what happened with Virginia Giuffre against Alan Dershowitz. She spent 5 years accusing the lawyer of having raped her when she was a victim of Epstein, and in court, it turns out that he said, "I may have been wrong." Now, with Spacey, his victims spent years accusing him, and it turns out that in court his statements did not hold up. Spacey was found not guilty on all charges, and the prosecution will not appeal. That gives you an idea that something happened with those victims because the prosecution should have at least appealed some charge, but it won't. What does that tell you? The British press has many detestable aspects, but what Harry and Grant and others are doing is not for a better press, but because the press told the truth about them, and it wasn't a pretty truth. Harry using Flack as an example of how evil the press is was vile. The British press and Wooten are not angels, but those who have the leadership of the latest lawsuits against the press are other vile. Another commented, "I think the biggest mistake by the royal family, apart from giving them a state church wedding, was not ordering them to give up their titles when they left these shores. The sovereign can do this with a stroke of a pen. They did, however, lose the HRH titles, which is something. What Harry and Meghan have been doing is the half-in/half-out roles our late queen know to. They have the titles and have been using them for financial gain and playing at having to pretend royal visits/tours. The IPP status is all that is missing, which is why everything has been orchestrated by the gruesome to have it reinstated. This is their goal. Now, with their brand in tatters, they will do everything in their power to be welcomed back into the royal family. They know King Charles III can be easily manipulated with all the emotional blackmail, Harry at breaking point shite, etc. They want the half-in, half-out, having their lifestyles supported in the USA by the UK and USA taxpayers, and if they get it, the royal family will be the ones whose brand will be in tatters. This has been addressed so many times, and yet people still think peerages can be removed by the monarch. They cannot. It's on the UK Parliament website if you won't accept the word of anyone here. All the king can do is remove princely titles. He cannot remove the peerages, Duke of Sussex, etc. Even when Charles II, eldest son, illegitimate of course, led a rebellion against his father to take his crown, he did so as Duke of Monmouth. He was executed as Duke of Monmouth as well. To be honest, it cannot restore what has never been had. Harry has never been IPP. If he were an IPP, he would never be able to sign up for Netflix. He would never be able to write his biography, and he would have to live on a salary of less than £300,000 because an IPP is someone who holds a high position of representing the state, like a president or an ambassador, and that person may not conduct personal business with the position. If Harry does business as a prince, then it's not IPP, and it can't be. Either it is one thing or it is the other. Harry, what he wants is for dad and brother to pay him for his safety. He wants to force his dad and brother to pay his expenses. And that's why he sued, because he thinks that if he exposes his terrible situation and his enormous risk in a public way, Charles and William will be forced to give in. But Charles has shown to be adamant. Harry threatens, "If you don't give me this, I'm going to do this." And Charles doesn't budge. Harry spent months threatening to write his biography if they didn't give him money, and Charles didn't stop him. Charles did do it to stop Angela Kelly from writing books, and he also wants Andrew under control. But with Harry, it didn't budge. Harry pulled out his book, gave his interviews, and Charles didn't respond. And why didn't Charles stop him? Because Charles already did it in the past, and Harry didn't learn his lesson. Charles has protected Harry in the past, and Harry hasn't learned his lesson. Now, Charles won't move, and Harry will fall off the cliff for his actions. It is something to see how the son's lawyer pulled spare when Harry testified in court and faced Harry in his own words. And while Harry profits from being a duke and prince, why did Spotify kick them out? Because dukes and princes without real ties to royals are not relevant. Charles can't legally take away Harry's titles, but he's not giving him a single thing that Harry can use to make his title shine. If Harry were to really seek to return to the UK, Harry would put forward in his demands that William and Kate treat Meghan very kindly, that Kate curtsy to Meghan, that William gives him half of Cornwall, that the Sussex children have a deal preferred over George. And Charles has already made it clear that William and his family are non-negotiable. Charles made it clear at the Queen's funeral. If William doesn't want to talk to Harry, he's not going to force it. And Charles has already made it clear that William is more important to him than Harry. He made it very clear at the coronation. Harry was not invited to take any photos with the new king. Harry had no relevant role, and Harry was in the third row because the king decided so. Who's the weak one? However, another person commented, the only one who had the status of IPP without being head of state or representative like an ambassador was Charles, and he was so because he was Prince of Wales. The title indicates who it is heir apparent. William has just become an IPP since Charles named him Prince of Wales. But Harry was never heir apparent, because the heir apparent is always a person who is first in an order of succession. I fully agree that it was not a good idea to include them at all. The photo wasn't what Harry would have wanted, but I agree that there shouldn't have been any photos of them. But including Harry and Meghan in the coronation brochure is not exactly a weakness. Is Harry the son of Charles? Yeah. Meghan is Charles's daughter-in-law? Yeah. Now, if you remember, the photo that was put up was Charles's birthday with the Cambridge children. What about the Sussex children? They remain invisible. So it was not exactly a photo that made Harry happy, because his brother is in the center and his sister-in-law with his nephews is in the center. That is the current nucleus of the British royal family, with the future nucleus of the British royal family, in which the Sussex children are not included, and of which Harry will no longer be a part. And about the seats in the coronation, it is true, there is protocol. But Camilla's children were in the front row. William was obviously in the front row, but so were Camilla's children, the children, and grandchildren. Harry was in the third row. Why wasn't Harry seated with Camilla's children? The Middletons had better positions than Harry. And yes, it sounds bad that Charles invites Harry to lunch. It's like inviting him to Balmoral. But it's like, well, if you want to come, you can. It is not the same as, please, I ask you to come. It's a relevant difference to Harry, because clearly he wants to be begged for, and Charles isn't begging. Charles is telling Harry, whether you come or not is your decision. That to Harry is like giving him a kick. Don't forget Harry's sense of super importance about himself. Charles inviting him into the whole lot isn't what Harry wants. He wants to be invited as William is, with honors, with fanfare, with photos. When Charles gives in to that, then all the pains of hell fall on him. As long as he doesn't, then Harry keeps losing. What do you think of the analysis of Lady C and other royal experts? Let us know your thoughts below in the comments section. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this newsletter. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.